All right, what's up, everybody? Uh, been a minute. Decided I'm going to start doing a podcast 2 weeks apart, just so I can, get more well versed in whatever the topic is, and also just because you can't give people too much at one time. Like they got to be able to process things or whatever. Take a week to see how maybe a new strategy is going, and see what happens from that, and also gives people a chance to talk to me for an extended period of time with the questions they might have pertaining to whatever I talked about on the previous podcast. So they'll be 2 weeks apart from now on. So there's that. But today, as most of you already know, today we're talking about anxiety. And I like to think all of us have an issue of dealing with anxiety. The thing is that, it's normalized by calling a certain level of anxiety healthy depending on the circumstances. Or we say it's just human nature because we all deal with it. I won't claim to say that I have a resolution for anxiety as a whole, because a lot of cases are coupled with, other mental ailments, mental health things that, are deemed clinical by physicians. I'm not a physician. I don't claim to be one or anything of that nature. But I do think anxiety is a problem, and I believe that the level of anxiety that a lot of people deal with nowadays is higher than it should be. And to keep interpreting that as just human nature isn't gonna work. It's not a good thing. It affects how people live their lives. So, you know, welcome to the Unconquered Fam podcast, where the positivity is the premise, love is the source, and the outcome is peace. Whatever that means to you, hopefully you obtain peace by listening to this, or some sparks in your head as I'm talking to help you achieve whatever peace is for you. Today, I coupled positivity and love, the premise and the source, as one when we get into this first section, because I believe that in order to tackle this subject, you have to use both at the same time. The best thing about anxiety, which sounds crazy to say, but the best thing about anxiety is that it gives you a chance to show yourself you can take back control. The things you have anxiety about or are anxious for are controlling you. So anxiety will give you a chance to give you a sense of the areas in your life in which you don't have control, and you can start attacking that area. So identify those areas right now. It could be a specific phobia. It could be something like social anxiety. I haven't really ever experienced social anxiety until I got older. And I knew this because when I was younger, I was in the choir. And anybody who knows me knows where I'm going with this. But I was in the choir, and I was yelling to the top of my lungs in the choir every Sunday at church, or whenever we sang at church, yelling to the top of my lungs, not worried about anything, not worried about how anybody, felt about it. I mean, yelling at the top of my lungs from beginning to the end of the song, dropping to my knees at the end of the song. I mean, I was in church, praising God to the best of my ability as a 4, 5, 6 year old kid. And I noticed back then that I didn't really have a sense of, fear about what I was doing, or how somebody may have thought, what somebody may have thought about what I was doing as far as yelling to the top of my lungs in the middle of church. It was called Children's Hour, so of course it was about us, but I kind of probably was taking the spotlight off of some other people, but I wasn't like interrupting Easter speeches or nothing like that. That wasn't my MO. I just wanted to be the loudest one when I did sing at choir rehearsal. So excuse that background noise. This mic seems to pick up a lot more than I thought it would. But anyway, like I said, I wasn't anxious. I didn't have anxiety or fear about anything I was doing at that time. One, because of course I didn't understand that maybe you're not supposed to yell like that in church. And I say all this to say that this gives me a chance to reach back and look at a time in my life where I was, kind of in my purest form. I can see the things that have changed since then is only the things that I've allowed myself to change. And now I can go back to that version of myself whenever I feel anxiety or fear about judgment or anything, and I can reach back, grab that, and start to see, all right, What am I anxious about? Why do I fear this? Why do I fear this judgment? Why am I, sad or depressed or angry about a certain situation or something that, I have the ability to change by facing it. A lot of people don't face what's making them anxious or brings them anxiety. And I thank God for my upbringing, my family and friends, because it allowed me to get into a state of mind where I could deal with the reality and not react from the anxiety and put myself in the harm's way. Because with that, you start to blur the lines between the anxiety you feeling and how that makes you react versus what's actually happening. You could be scared of a spider, but until it bites you, there's no real effect for you. There's no real reason for you to be scared of the spider other than the impending bite. And if you understand the spider, then you can go and you can say, all right, I know how to keep spiders out of my home now because I understand they don't like this or they like that. And that allows you to not be as anxious or afraid of that spider. The same thing with your anxiety or whatever phobias you may have. Next, I like to say that I'm kind of a YouTube aficionado. So I see YouTubers who do like the random social experiments on college campuses or just go out in public and do things that would make a lot of normal people panic because of all the eyes on them. And I realize they probably do things like this so much that they don't even notice the people looking at them, and they're not really worried about the judgments they may be passing. And in any of these moments, when they interact with people, I see the energy and the freedom they have because they aren't letting that anxiety keep them from embracing the moment in front of them. And then that allows them to execute the joke or get the girl or do the magic trick. They have beaten what most of us fear, and it isn't just them on YouTube. It's actors, it's singers, it's athletes. This is admired so much because they are doing what so many people want to do but haven't figured out that they have the power to do just yet. And I'll leave this segment before we go into the peace segment and how to achieve that with this statement. I have yet to see a baby be embarrassed about putting his foot in his mouth. So that tells me that a lot of the things that you've been fearing or things that you're anxious about are in your head and can be attributed to your development and sometimes even upbringing. I think everything starts from the beginning and it flows from there. That's just my belief. So that's it for the positivity and love segment. Now, to achieve peace, how do you beat anxiety if it's not the kind of anxiety that's deemed, I guess, clinical, where you need to see a physician or a doctor? My thoughts are talk to yourself first. Talking to someone else about the problem before you've understood it from your own perspective opens you up to be manipulated by someone who can use your fears against you because you lack understanding. And that fear is very powerful. That fear can allow you to be manipulated in ways that you never thought you'd be manipulated in. So talk to yourself first, because then you have a base within yourself that you can use to allow yourself to stay grounded, and maybe you're still scared of this thing or you still have anxiety about this thing, but you're comfortable in your stance and trying to figure out ways to deal with it that don't compromise who you are. And you can't let people understand that fear and you not understand it, and then they can compromise who you are. So you don't want that. So that's the first thing. Talk to yourself first. The second thing, you have to be brave. You have to block out the outside noise, look at what's really going on, and find out how it affects / controls you, and then dismantle the things that control you one day at a time. If you're scared of something, let's say you're scared of planes. If you're scared of planes, you're probably scared of a plane because you don't want to fall out the sky and die. But answer me this, and hopefully I don't offend anybody, but if you're a Christian and you are who you say you are, when you die, you're going to heaven, and that's unfathomably better than earth. So what are you really afraid of? And it's easier said than done, but if you think about it, that makes sense. So you got to be brave, man. You got to look at the facts of the situation and say, all right, if I'm in this plane, man, and it goes down, it's nothing I can do. It's out of my control. A lot of things that we're anxious about, we can't control, which makes no sense. So stop being anxious about it. It is what it is. The third thing, no self-sabotage, just focus and preparation. Preparation should take a lot of anxiety away. You're more anxious for a test you haven't studied for than the one you did study for. You know, that's a difference if you didn't know, what was going to be on the test and you're just studying different things, trying to, make sure you're well rounded within a specific area or anything like that. But, if you got what's on the test and this is going to be on the test, when you study for it and you're ready, you're prepared, and it should take a lot of that anxiety away. All the extra anxiety is things you're putting on yourself, and you shouldn't. So don't let those things affect you. Now, to combat that, because with everything it's complex with life, just understand that there are tests that you're not going to be able to study certain things for, so you have to just trust these concepts. And I think that's what life is in a nutshell. Life is a whole bunch of tests that you have to use the concepts that you know to the best of your ability to try to maneuver through a certain situation. So study these different concepts, study these different ways of life that you want to live, the one that best fits you, the ones that you're strong within, your foundation, I guess, of who you are, and then use those things to your advantage. And from there, you'll be able to maneuver through life just fine in your own way, and stop trying to, I guess, live in a way that is making you anxious or gives you anxiety about how people feel or don't feel about a certain thing. So, maneuver through life with the things that you have in your toolbox, so to speak. And always be willing to add tools, learn what these different tools do, and that should help you out as well. And lastly, if you look at both sides of the equation, you'll be able to understand. And people fear what they, can't understand or aren't willing to try to understand. So, just remember this equation: understanding over fear equals productivity and progression. If you understand what you fear, you can always, in those moments of fear, lean back on, the understanding that you have of these different fears or whatnot, and then you'll be able to move instead of being, frozen by fear. It's the people that freeze in the moment that are the ones that we look at and say, oh man, they froze, they didn't execute, they didn't get this done, didn't get that done, they had opportunity of a lifetime and they let fear stop them. So don't freeze in those moments of anxiety. It's just letting you know that, all right, this is something that I probably have control over. Let me identify, understand it, and move forward and tackle this anxiety and keep it from, making me freeze. Because if you freeze, you might miss out. And then when you miss out, you got regrets. And you don't ever want the regrets that I should have did this or I should have did that, So just take time to understand, so you don't have to start over. It's just like a real math problem. That's the metaphor here, is the real math problem. If you look at a math problem on each side of the equation and you try to understand both sides, see how we can get to the same answer on both sides, and then you do it, now you're equal. But if you only do one side and don't try to understand the other side, then you end up with one side that equals this and another side that equals that. And sometimes that's going to happen because things aren't just right. They aren't right for you. Those things might not fit who you are. So you have to move on from that equation and seek help on that equation or whatever that is you may be going through in life that's making you anxious or whatever. And then those are the things that you learn that, hey, I just got to leave that alone. It's not right for me. It's making me anxious. It's pulling this energy out of me that I don't want. And from there you move forward and you study these different things that help you be a better you. So my call to action for everyone that's watching or will watch is to if you got social anxiety or something, just find anything that gives you some type of anxiety or fear, and you take that and you find a way to tackle that each day. Because I firmly believe, like Will Smith said, God puts the best things on the other side of fear. That's why, somebody makes a Super Bowl winning catch, or, a performer goes out there and performs the show of their life. And, it's all, things that if we look at it, like, man, I'd be nervous as I don't know what doing it. And we could say we wouldn't or whatever and play macho, but it's a lot of things that, I would be nervous to do. I don't want to get up on a stage at Coachella and do what Beyonce did or what, whoever else, DJ Khaled does. Like, those are things you would be nervous about if you're not prepared, if you don't understand, how it goes. If I understood it and understood how it goes and how to do it and how to execute, there's no reason to be anxious because it's what I've prepared for. So prepare yourself. That would take a lot of fear and anxiety away. Understanding will take a lot of fear and anxiety away. And talking to yourself and understanding that you can take control from whatever is going on in your life will take a lot of fear and anxiety away. So that's my spiel today. I know it's been a while. I got something else coming up for you guys from the Unconquered Fitness page right after I get off and edit this. I'm going to drop that. So I appreciate everybody out there watching. I appreciate everybody that will watch. And this is the Unconquered Fam podcast, where positivity is the premise, love is the source, and the outcome is peace. I hope I gave some people peace today. I'm out.